Let's do a deep dive on the OddsJam Fantasy Optimizer. Let's understand how do we find profitable plays? What's the process? What things do you have to look out for? We'll get into all of that today in this video. Welcome to Juice Bets. My name is Trevor. We had an incredible weekend in the VIP Discord. Over $10,000 in profit last weekend with both college and NFL. We're looking to run it back again this weekend coming up. So if you haven't joined already, I highly recommend you at least check it out. It's a 3-day free trial, so no sweat off your back if you don't like it. And after that, it's just $1 a day. So it's definitely the best way to increase your volume as a plus EV bettor, which, as we know, is the most important thing. The more volume you get out there, the more profit you can make, right? So join down below. The link's down there, and it's completely free for your first 3 days. Okay, so having said all that, we're going to get into the OddsJam Fantasy Optimizer and understanding how can we use this to our advantage? How can we use it to find profitable sports betting opportunities? Let's get into the video. The OddsJam Fantasy Optimizer is my go-to recommendation for both new sports bettors who are trying to get into plus EV and also even seasoned veterans who've been doing this for a while. This is a great product. It's super easy to use, and to be honest, it's just a perfect process, a perfect piece of the pie to add to your process. It's super easy, and yeah. So let's get into exactly how we use this optimizer. To be honest, it's not rocket science, but there are a few things to look out for. So let's get down to the basics here. So first things first, the optimizer. You can sort it based on the sports book that you have access to. As always, I would highly recommend to get access to as many sports books as possible. With NBA coming back, college basketball, we've got NHL, NFL, college football, tons and tons of opportunities over the next 4 or 5 months. Now is the time to at least think about getting the optimizer, because it really does make the plus EV betting process quite simple. It removes the time searching for bets, and it allows you to just be notified when a bet is on the board, and you can go and place it and capture that value. So as I was saying, you can get access to all these books. Highly recommend you get as many books as you can, depending on where you live. That changes. And one thing to understand before we even talk about kind of what we're looking for in the optimizer is that all of these platforms here with this optimizer, this is all daily fantasy, and these are all fixed payout platforms, right? So for instance, if we go to Underdog, and here's a couple nice wins this morning on Underdog. If we go to Underdog and we look at, placing a bet for, whatever it might be, right? We're doing a 3-man bet here, 3-man parlay on Underdog. And as you can see, I'll move my face out of the way here. You can see that it's a 6x payout regardless of if you're going over or under or whatnot, right? It doesn't matter, because on these fixed payout platforms, there are no odds attached to the over or the under like most sports books have, right? Basically, Underdog will set their lines. They'll adjust them, depending on where the money's coming in, but they will never change their payout. They'll never change the odds. So what that does is it sets implied odds per leg, right? So basically what that means is in a 3-man here, each leg, so each player prop, Purdy's passing touchdowns, Kirk Cousins passing and rushing yards, each one has implied odds. And for this, it's minus 122 or minus 120 if you do a 5-man insured. OddsJam, lays this out nicely, and you can see what the most profitable structure is. And if you look at these odds, you want to find the one that is the closest to even money. So a 3-man non-insured is minus 122, a 5-man insured is minus 120, and non-insured is minus 122. So, and I guess a 4-man insured is 123. So those are the best sort of ways to build it out, to structure your slips. It depends on the platform. I'll give you a quick rundown. Underdog is 3-man and 5-man, also 4-man insured. PrizePicks is 5-man and 6-man flex, so insured plays. And Parlay Play is basically the same as PrizePicks, but you can also do a 6-man non-insured for minus 117 odds, which is incredible. So very, very solid. So that's kind of the best way to lay these out. But anyways, getting a little bit off topic here, what we can do with the optimizer is, since underdogs, payout is minus 120 per leg, well, we simply just want to find plays that are much more favored than that. And then we put them in the parlay and we get paid out as if they're minus 120. So we're looking for plays that are super, super favored because we're going to be paid out as if they're not, right? And that is where our edge comes in. So let's move my face cam back to the corner and let's look for, some plays on Prize Picks. And this is how I would go about using the optimizer. So first things first, this is a Steph Curry promo for the NBA season opener. And so we'll keep looking. So on the optimizer, you can get a lot of esports plays right now, and then obviously football. There's probably some baseball still around, some hockey. Really any value that comes on the board will be shown on this optimizer. And what you do simply is you're looking for plays that are green, right? So all the green plays here, as you can see, it gets into yellow. All the green plays have these odds, these algo odds, the OddsJam algo odds, which are basically average odds of the play. And these, if this number is more favored than this number on Prize Picks, it's minus 119 implied odds per leg. If this number is more favored, then that is a green play, right? That is a plus EV play. Now, when we're looking for these, there is a little bit of context to understand. The first thing is that you don't really want to be taking plays that have only one data point, right? Like if we're looking at this KD play here, and this is League of Legends, the line is at 3 on Prize Picks, and on Hot Streak, it's at 3.5. Now, you might think, okay, well, this is a favored play because we're getting it at 3. We take the over. The 3.5 is favored on Hot Streak pretty significantly. We might as well take the over. And here, I'll actually just shift the screen a little bit so you can see this. It's 3.5, on Hot Streak, and then it's at 3 on Prize Picks, right? And so what the optimizer is saying is, oh, well, that's a great play, right? We're getting it at 3 and we're catching value. However, it's just one data point to go off of. I would highly recommend to just not take the plays that are just one data point. If you want to be selective and use your bankroll properly, that's the way to do it, right? Is to be selective. So the next play that I would say is like valid right now would be this TJ Hawkinson play. Now, the reason why, his under 6 receptions, he's at 5.5 on all of these other books, and he's at 5.5 at minus 115. So if we take his line at 6, right, we're basically getting an extra half point of value to work with. And so the under 6 is going to be much more favored than the under 5.5, right? Because the under 5.5 is already minus 115. We're going to be looking at probably minus 140, minus 150 to his under 6. So this one is definitely a valid play because we've got tons of data points here to go off of, right? And that's super important when you're looking at the optimizers. You want to make sure that you're finding plays that are compared to a bunch of sports books. Now, here's the second thing. The second tip now is that you want to be comparing them to the sharpest sports books in the world. So DraftKings I will always recommend DraftKings as the first book that you should look at. The reason why is DraftKings tries to be the market average. They want to be right in the pocket. They want to be, they don't want to be an outlier. So they are, for instance here, FanDuel has Hawkinson at minus 106. DraftKings has him minus 115. Some other books set at minus 17, minus 120 on Fliff. It kind of all over the place, but DraftKings is at minus 115, right in the middle, average kind of odds for this player prop. So DraftKings is usually very sharp and a good market average. So I would say they're the most important for player props. Pinnacle, on the other hand, people throw around Pinnacle as if they're the sharpest sports book. I would argue they are the sharpest sports book, for totals, spreads, money line, big markets like that. But for player props, not so much. I would much rather trust DraftKings there. So I would definitely look to DraftKings for that. And then there are some specific ones that kind of vary depending on the sport. Like FanDuel, You could find some, you were looking at pitcher strikeouts for the MLB was a good one. On Pinnacle, you might be looking at tennis. It really varies depending on the sport. But in general, when you're looking at the optimizer, the first thing you should look for is what does DraftKings have it priced at? And then you can look at all the other data points. Obviously, having 6 or 7 sports books is better than just having DraftKings, but I would always recommend DraftKings being the one that you look at for player props. So when you're using the optimizer, you're scrolling through and you're trying to find your plays. You're wanting to find plays that are being based off of multiple data points. And let's say you're looking and there's really only one play. Like right now, it's really only Hawkinson that is viable. This Madison and George Kittle play here, -143 on Barstool and -135 on Pinnacle. But we don't get any DraftKings line, and it's just based off of those books and Hot Streak and Fliff. These guys are not the sharpest. So again, and especially when this one, the odds are -119, we're not looking at much value as it is. And even then, we're comparing to books that aren't that sharp. So I wouldn't take this one. So yeah, the third and kind of final tip for the optimizer is this is a great resource and a great software and platform to use, but you do not want to force plays, right? Like, let's say you love this TJ Hawkinson play, and there's a couple other plays up on the board that are really good, and you have three players in a Prize Picks slip, right? You've got 3 in Prize Picks. Well, it might be plus EV comparing to this number here, -119. The issue for me, though, here is that you can't just go ahead and place that 3-man slip, because if you were to do a 3-man slip, now your implied odds are -144 for a flex or -140 for a power. So you're no longer comparing the lines to these implied odds. Now you're being paid out as if it's -140 per leg. Your edge has been completely diminished. So you need to make sure that for Prize Picks, you're doing 5-man flex and 6-man flex. For Underdog, I'll just go to each one. For Underdog, you're building out slips on a 3-man non-insured, a 4-man insured, a 5-man insured, or a 5-man non-insured. For Parlay Play, it's very similar to Prize Picks with a couple nuances. You've got a 5-man insured, a 5-man non-insured, a 6-man insured, 6-man non-insured, and a 7-man non-insured. Those are the best ways to do it on Parlay Play. And so you have to keep in mind that, let's say, again, like I was giving an example, on Prize Picks, if you're building out a slip and you've got 3 great plays, but you can't find a 4th or a 5th, well, it just wasn't meant to be. It's just not the time to place that slip because you do not want to force it. One thing you can do, though, is you can find plays that are right around here. Like, you could dip into the yellow to find a play that might not be, itself perfectly plus EV, but it's close enough, right? It's -118, -117. It's close enough to the point where it gets you to that 5 or 6-man on Prize Picks, and then your whole slip is plus EV because you have those great plays at the top. Then you finish out the slip with some plays that are slightly minus EV, and it balances out to being a really nice plus EV slip. So that's kind of the final tip: is don't force it, but you can dip down into these yellow areas to find plays that are still favored, right? I mean, we're still looking at, like, for instance, this Kobe White play. He's still favored to go over his rebounds and assists. It's just not quite technically plus EV. But again, you can add it to your slip to make your whole slip plus EV. So yeah, hopefully this cleared some things up for you for the optimizer. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop them in the comments down below. I'd be happy to answer those. And yeah, check out the VIP Discord. I really, really recommend it for DFS bettors. We also have straight bets and arbitrage bets in there, risk-free money. And it's completely free for your first 3 days. We have tons of resources in there as well, tons of YouTube videos on this channel, and sharp sports bettors in that Discord that are answering questions daily, right? So they're looking to help you become a better sports bettor. Anyways, that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and we will catch you next time.